For 52 years, this show has had a knack for finding ordinary Texans doing extraordinary things in some pretty unusual places. This week, we'll talk to three who spend a bit of time underwater, behind a restaurant, and in the landscape that surrounds us throughout the state. So why don't you hop in and travel with me as we continue this journey down the back roads of Texas. But bring your wetsuit, appetite, and maybe some clothes for a little bit of yard work. My name is JB Salceda, and this is Texas Country Reporter.
It's just beautiful silence. You know, all the other worries and cares and stresses aren't there. You don't think about anything else besides just hunting fish, and yeah, it's just beautiful. It's very, very calming. You know.
The silent anticipation before Nick Menchaca takes a dip into the tranquil Comal River is something he says never gets old. Trees watch from the banks as sunlight dances over a gentle current, while below the surface, fish dart in and out of a forest of flowing algae. This is where Nick feels most at home.
I always dreamed of working in the water. I love being in the water. Like to protect these environments that I'm very passionate about. Just was always looking for some sort of job to protect it and also be in the water at the same time. So I did an internship with the watershed protection manager for the city, and that was right before the habitat conservation plan started. And it's a big plan that's in place to protect the endangered species in the aquifer and the Comal and San Marcos Springs and river systems. And we won that contract for invasive fish removal, so we started doing that in 2013.
Forget a fishing pole or net. It's spears that are used in these invasive fish removal efforts. Armed with the perfect combination of patience, precision, and instinct, with one strike, Nick reels in another problematic fish.
So our only two targeted fish is the tilapia and the armored catfish.
Why are the invasive fish a problem?
So they basically outcompete our native species for resources. It takes away from the habitat for our native species, and also can take away from our endangered species as well.
What would our rivers look like if these invasive species were allowed to just run amok?
They would just completely take over, where you really wouldn't see very many native fish at all. You would just see massive schools of tilapia swimming through. They would just pretty much just completely take over if they weren't being hunted. A normal gun would just have two bands, or maybe one band right here that you pull back.
Well, of course we wanted to do our part to help out, so I decided to hop in and try spearfishing for myself.
This is pretty much deep enough now to get down and start snorkeling,
There's nothing quite like bobbing and weaving through the underwater foliage as the briefest glint of a fish dances by to get your blood pumping.
We're so close, dude, so close. It was there.
After a couple of unsuccessful attempts, I finally took a shot.
Shoot it.
I nailed it.
Let's go! Hey!
It's certainly not as easy as shooting fish in a barrel, but you too can try your hand at spearfishing by participating in one of Nick's San Marcos River pole spear tournaments.
So we started the first tournament in December of 2014, and we just put these tournaments on to kind of get the public together and the community together to remove as many fish as possible, and in a short period of time. We split the river up into three sections. There's the upper section, the middle section, and the lower section, and whenever you register, you sign up for a time slot. So we are trying to, really encourage people to just spear invasives and kind of take part in what we're doing and help, protect these native species.
The tournaments have grown into a tradition that's equal parts recreational and environmental. And it all culminates in two of the most treasured words in Texas: free tacos.
So the fish fry, we do it at the end of the tournament, and we do the awards for everybody who's won different categories of awards. And it's basically our way of honoring the fish that we catch by not letting them go to waste and eating them and feeding them to the community and sharing it with the community. It's also a good place for all the guys in the tournament to come and kind of talk and kind of create a culture of what we're doing of river stewardship and also for, kind of ethical spearfishing.
How were those tacos? All right, I want to thank everybody for coming to the Fish Fry. The 19th biannual Spring Pole Spear Tournament was a great success, removing 443 armored catfish and 29 tilapia, adding up to over 217 pounds. Way to go, Spearos! Woo!
Why do you care so much about this?
Well, just become very passionate about doing this and seeing the results of it, just not seeing as many schools of fish swimming around, and just wanting to protect our aquifer, the endangered species within the aquifer. If they're doing well, then that's a sign like the San Marcos River is doing well, it's flowing clear. It's an indication of how healthy the ecosystem is.
And how long did it take you to catch all those?
So I got in the water about 3:30, something like that.
This morning?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Somehow Nick Menchaca turned an invasive species problem into a fun sport that anyone can participate in. He knows they'll never be able to get rid of every problem tilapia or armored catfish, but he'll continue doing his part to keep the numbers down with each and every shot.
With how these ecosystems are, the goal of eradication is almost impossible without draining the river or the lake. And if you do that, then it's going to not be good for the endangered species and the other native fish. So the best that we can do is just to keep the populations down to as small as we possibly can. And if I can keep doing this till I'm an old man, then that would be that's the goal.
Many towns in North Texas were cooked up with a similar recipe. One big helping of courthouse, surrounded by a bed of shops and dining, and sprinkled generously with trees. But folks around Denton say their home is different. It's got a special sauce, and that secret ingredient is the vibes.
Denton doesn't care about Dallas or Fort Worth or anyone else for that matter, so I think what we have vibe-wise is a Denton vibe. We're very much live music and great food and an emphasis on exceptional hospitality.
Ken Bivens spends most nights just around the corner from the courthouse square managing Queenie's, a high-end restaurant that, more than anything, loves to be as Denton as possible.
We want people to relax and be able to enjoy themselves and receive something exceptional without feeling like they have to pretend or have a certain look or a certain amount of money in their bank account. We call it casual fine dining. We're a contemporary American steakhouse with a nice little flair for game meat and other things like that, and I'm simply a facilitator of good times here.
With dishes like tomahawk steak, rabbit and rattlesnake sausage, and even fried oysters, this place is certainly Texan to the T. But late at night, it becomes even more Denton, with a D, and that stands for donuts.
So that's the fun part. Queenie's After Dark, no, I'm just kidding. It's actually called back dough. So essentially we open the window and we begin to sell donuts out of our back dough.
All right, hi, how are y'all doing today? So usually we open at 10 p.m. and go until we sell out of the donuts. $12 even.
And now, who exactly is buying a donut at 11 o'clock at night?
Who isn't?
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone that walks past the back dough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the neon lights just catch them, and of course Marina's usually yelling out of the window, "Come buy my donuts," or something crazy.
That was really good.
Thank you.
It's got its own little legend here in Denton, so we're just trying to continue to keep that going.
Well, if ever a town had vibes, you'll feel them waiting in line at Back Dough. The only late night craft donut window run out of a steakhouse kitchen that we know of.
So tonight we have a key lime pie donut or the key lime limey pie. And then we also do have a choco cocoa caramely cookie donut, which is basically a Samoa.
So they're good size. They're bigger than your typical donut. They are a brioche donut batter. I think we consider them sort of a craft donut, not what you would get or expect at most places.
All right, here you go.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Hefty and handcrafted, not drive-through dependable, means that visiting Back Dough can be a gourmet gamble. The flavors always change and the donuts go fast, but if you played your cards right, you walk past that red neon sign, they'll still have one with your name on it.
Can I get a donut? Is there
Yes.
one left for TV host?
One left Samoa donut for you.
Sweet. We came, we saw, we conquered. Wow.
Bye, thank y'all for coming. I'm sorry we sold out.
That's where hope resides, is in seeds. You just need the faith to believe in it. They're alive. Wrapped up in these teeny little capsules is everything they need to know how to live right here with no extra care.
The Blackland Prairies of Texas was once comprised of over 11 million acres, an ocean of grass and native flowers swaying in the Texas breeze. But experts estimate that less than 1% of that great prairie remains. In its place, we've planted non-native grasses that require coddling that comes from a garden hose and bags of fertilizer. But Bill Neiman of Native American Seed has made it his mission to preserve the plants that once made this prairie a diverse and vibrant place and to bring it back, one lawn at a time.
70% of the clean drinking water in any city in Texas is going on landscaping. And so you drill into the plants that are in a landscape and you get Asian jasmine, Chinese holly, India hawthorn, Japanese boxwood, Pakistan crepe myrtle, African Bermuda grass, Caribbean St. Augustine grass. The names or the countries of origin would kind of tell you something if we were paying attention. And this has been going on about a half a century. This thing about the lawn is kind of messing us up.
The unintended results of our efforts to manicure and tame nature has been the incredible upkeep required to maintain the many lawns around Texas as our state's population has grown. But what if the antidote to all that mowing and watering can be found deep down in our state's roots, and more specifically, the seeds that spawned them?
There's something about our society and what we've done, I think unintentionally, but we've erased nearly all of the native plants. All of the native habitat is gone. I started learning that these plants know exactly how to live right here with no extra care. They evolved here over thousands and thousands of years.
From a young age, Bill Neiman had a good foundation for loving things that sprout from the earth. Still, back in 1988, there was no blueprint for companies dedicated to preserving native wildflower and grass seeds when Bill and his wife founded the business in Argyle, Texas. But it wasn't the first he founded.
I did design, build, landscape construction. We do the entire job. Drainage, erosion control, hardscaping, lighting, retaining walls, hydromulch, sod. Along comes 1980. There was 100 days of 100 degrees with no rain in the DFW area. So it kind of dawned on me, man, I may have made a mistake here of some kind.
Bill had an epiphany. He was struck by a lightning bolt that caused him to see the world, the nature around him, the landscaping he did. He began to see it all in a different way.
On my way home every day after work, I drove 12 miles through the country over to Argyle, and there would be stuff out in the pasture blooming, even though it was hot and dry. There was green plants and some of them even flowers. So I would kind of climb through the fence and look at these plants and try and look them up in plant books and try and figure out what are these things. These are the native plants, and they were doing fine.
Bill understands that this is all a tall task. People love their lawns, but it hasn't always been that way.
Why did that shift happen?
Well, I think it's a marketing thing and somewhat of our history of the concept of colonization, to where we wanted to dominate, and we didn't understand this place when we got here.
Bill decided to figure out how to change his livelihood from landscaping to teaching folks how to change their yards and their land into places of ecological restoration.
So I made a shift in the nursery to work that out. I was thinking 30 years from now that the young people wouldn't have enough clean drinking water, and that I would have been complicit in the reason why. So for me, personally, it's all about conservation of the most precious resource we have, which is clean water.
But where does one get the kind of seeds for the grasses and the wildflowers that once dominated millions of acres of the Texas prairies? These aren't the seeds you'll find at a hardware store, especially not in 1988.
Sometimes we actually can find down back roads enough to just get an envelope. Like a little, it's more than a thimbleful, but maybe a cupful of seed. And we'll start one row 100 feet. And then we'll learn about what's going on there, learn how to get in sync. What does that seed do when it's mature? What does that look like? What does it feel like? Then we'll hand collect that. Then we'll do 4 rows. Then the next year, we've got enough to do a 1/4 acre.
Part of what got Bill thinking about preserving these seeds for the future was wondering what sort of natural beauty would remain for his children and children's children as the concrete continues its spread from coast to coast. It's a concern any parent, including myself, can understand.
I got a couple of goals in life. One is been to not have any regrets. The other thing, and I just learned this pretty late in life, is I would like to be a good ancestor.
How do you do that?
I think you get focused on what is it that you can share and leave for the future. What will this place be like if we don't make a shift for our species to even continue? This is not something that you have to go to college to figure it out. Everybody knows this. We can't keep doing what we've always done, or we're going to keep getting what we've always got.
This season will be filled with plenty of firsts, including my first time spearfishing in the waters of the Comal, but it turned out to be a better shot than I was expecting. Nonetheless, I'm having an incredible time, and I hope you're enjoying watching this season as much as we enjoyed producing it for you. Now, I look forward to next week, when I hope you'll hop in and travel with me as we continue our journey down the back roads of Texas. My name is JB Salceda, and this is Texas Country Reporter.